Back in 2020, I rediscovered my love of reading, and since then, it feels like I've been reading nonstop. And I found out that several of my friends actually shared the same passion. That's where a light bulb went off, and we decided we needed to start a book club. So we figured, why not bring you all in on the fun? And our first official pick is this book right here, The Women by Kristin Hannah. We all just finished reading the book, and my club members, Lauren and Michelle, are back with me now. Thank you, as always, ladies, for being here.
Happy to be here.
And Lauren, you actually had this idea to start a book club, so talk to me about why you wanted to do this.
I think it was just a really good excuse to get together. As you get older, it's harder to plan things, and so putting something monthly on the calendar to look forward to.
I know, and we do. We eat good food, drink good wine, have good conversations. And so I want to start with actually our, rating of the book. Okay, our first pick is The Women by local author Kristin Hannah. It's historical fiction, and this book all but took me out. I mean, I was so emotional. I was in shambles reading this book. It follows the main character, Frankie, as she joins the army as a nurse during the Vietnam War. And let's get to our ratings, and we're basing this off of character development. Does it keep our attention? Is it a page turner? The writing style, all of it. So drum roll. 3, 2, 1. Okay, and we're usually very picky. We're not like this, okay? Why did we give it a perfect 5 out of 5 stars?
Well, I think it's important to note that we did pick this book as it was one of our favorites of last year.
True.
We did read a lot of duds, and I'm a very harsh judge. But this book kept me up. It had everything in it. It had love, it had history, friendship. It kind of covered all the topics. I think it's almost 500 pages, and I read it in one day.
I know. Michelle, what did you think?
I'm with you. I think technically I'd give it a 4.9, but
okay, that wasn't an option on there.
It was pretty close to perfect. What didn't it have? And I really loved that it was focused on some of these untold stories of combat nurses in the Vietnam War, the self-discovery, the character development, there was romance, it had it all. So
I know.
It set the bar high for this year.
It really, really did. Crazy family ties, it had something for everyone. And like you, I stayed up sobbing because I had to get to the end. And we had one friend that read the last page to figure out what happened because she was like, I have too much anxiety. And I'm like, no, it's the whole fun of it. You have to read the whole book. We were talking about this. This book did a great job building up characters. Do you have any favorites?
I loved Frankie and Barb, her two friends that really just kind of followed her through, and they weren't necessarily main characters throughout the book, but definitely great supporting roles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Frankie, main character, the two friends were wonderful. I think I'll give a shout out to Finley, the brother. Really, that kicked off this whole story and the relationship between Frankie and her brother. So I'll give Finley a little bit of a shout out.
Yeah, and for someone that hasn't read this book, how would you kind of give a little summary about the book? We have Frankie, the main character, who her brother Finley actually enlists, and the parents are very excited about this and supportive. And then, not to give too much away, but something happens, and then Frankie decides to actually enlist and doesn't get the same love and support from her family. Is there anything else too that you guys would add once she goes away and is a nurse, a combat nurse in the Vietnam War?
Probably a lot, but there's a lot of self-discovery that goes through, and as the reader, you're along for that journey the whole way. When she's over in Vietnam during the war, it was incredibly touching to think about the experiences as so many soldiers were wounded and dying, and the impact that those nurses had on their very last moments. And then another thing that was pretty jarring was the experience and of return back to the U.S. following that. So lots of ups and downs, and really a great story. And
I know.
True story for me.
I didn't see the ending coming either. It really jolted me. Historical fiction, like we talked about, it goes into the women of the Vietnam War. Frankie has some really amazing, beautiful female relationships too that she develops over there. Did anything about the book surprise you? I guess I was a little surprised just when she returned back from the war and just the negativity around that, and she didn't really know that when she was there, you know, on the front line. So I guess some of that wasn't surprising to me reading. I don't know if you guys had any.
That was a surprising piece to me as well. Like, I didn't expect that, just because when men come back from war, it's a different story, and so I didn't realize that women faced those kind of issues.
Definitely. And clearly Frankie suffers from PTSD after the war. And at that time there was very little understanding on PTSD. Frankie herself believes she wasn't actually technically in combat. And I thought that was a really interesting piece because, in my opinion, I think she absolutely faced it. I mean, she's the last person that some of these soldiers were seeing, and they just wanted to see someone and not be alone when, you know, they're on their deathbed, essentially. So do you guys have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think she was also multiple times there was warfare and fire, and, violence going on all around. And then I think of when you think of combat, she was struggling for her life multiple times,
True.
Both while over in Vietnam and also when she returned. So I would agree.
Yeah. And the stigma of mental illness remains prevalent today, and many people, you know, suffer in silence. What do you think was Frankie's darkest moment in the book? She suffered from addiction. For people that haven't read this, she suffered from PTSD. She had a lot of different male relationships going on. Do you think that there was one defining dark moment, or just a series of many moments?
I took it as like a series of many moments, and then she always had something to turn back to kind of lift her spirits. But like, there wasn't like a overshadow of dark, but there were moments of it.
Yeah, for sure. And one of my last questions, Frankie realizes the remembrance mattered. What do you think she meant by this? I thought this was a really touching moment.
Yeah, I think history matters, and I think it's also a tribute to all those who serve and protect our rights. And so I think it was knowing the history of what has come before and those experiences is how I took it.
Oh, beautiful. Okay, and we did already pick next month's book for you all, but that is not to say that we don't want all of your thoughts, so please message us, email us on your pick. But this is what we're going to read next. We are reading A Sea of Unspoken Things. There's a lot of buzz around this already in this author in 2025, so looking forward to that, and I hope everyone at home reads along. Thank you so much for being here, ladies.
Thank you.
And don't worry, we don't always get 5 out of 5 ratings, okay?
Very true. It's very seldom, actually.
Yes. And if you'd like to join the club, it's easy. Text the word club to 206-448-4545 to get updates on what we're reading. And of course, you can join in on the fun. And thanks for spending time with us today. You can check our website for more of our content, and you can always send us an email to share your thoughts. Don't forget to enjoy your new day, and we'll see you next time.